Hey everyone, it's CruiseCom Captain, formerly Path to Pinnacle Club. Welcome back to my channel if you've been here before for the journey, and welcome to my channel if you're here for the first time. Thank you so much for checking into this video. I am going to be talking today about how I achieved Pinnacle so quickly. We did a little bit of an announcement video, me and Abroad That Travels, a couple weeks ago. I encourage you to check that out for a more comprehensive collective experience of our travels in general. But today I'm going to talk about a quick little primer on how I achieved Pinnacle so quickly, what inside tips and tricks I kind of used, what hacks I used in order to get there so quickly and to be able to do it at such a young age. So I'm going to get right into it. There's three main components you need to consider, and they seem pretty obvious, but the details within them are going to be a little bit more complicated and a little bit more nuanced. So obviously, to achieve a top status at any cruise line, but today we're going to talk about Pinnacle Club on Royal Caribbean specifically. You need time, you need money, and you need a strategy about how you want to get there. You don't necessarily need a strategy, the third one, if you end up just coincidentally cruising for what is the equivalent of 700 nights at sea. Congratulations, you can stop watching this video and just go cruise a bunch and see if you get there. But for those who want maybe a more targeted, a more specific, maybe a less accidental, a less coincidental type of experience, and you want to optimize for it, this video is for you. So let's get right into it, and we'll start with time. I've listed time above money specifically because I think time is what's most important, and that you need to have the time to take the equivalent of those cruises. So obviously a lot of cruising populations skew older because in general they have more time at that stage in their life. Of course, that's, there are exceptions to that, and that's a bit of a generalization, but on average that kind of tends to be the case more, right? So even if you aren't retired, if you work a flexible job, if you are able to take time off, if you work remote and can work from anywhere, obviously that's incredibly flexible. If you're able to take extended periods of time off, there are different ways to take advantage of that time. But if you don't have the time to take the cruises, no matter how cheaply or how easily you can get those cruises, it doesn't really matter, right? You need to have time to do those things and to take advantage of the opportunities that your money and your strategy create for you. For me personally, I was able to be flexible with time, and I was also able to take a lot of solo cruises, which is within the time category cuts. For Royal, that cuts the amount of cruising you need to do in half, because if you're solo cruising, you get double points for those nights. If you have more money as well and you can solo cruise in a suite, that'll actually multiply even more. You'll actually get 3 points per night. So you would only need a third of the nights as you would need if you just cruised with somebody, for those 700 points for Royal Caribbean. To achieve Pinnacle status, you need 700 points, like I said, the equivalent for 700 nights at sea. But if you cruise solo, you only need 350, and because that's a 2x multiplier. And if you want a 3x multiplier, meaning you get 3 credit for 3 nights for 1, it would be if you had solo and in a suite. If instead you just did a suite, it would also be 2. So if you had a partner or someone you wanted to cruise with full time, and you cruised with them in a suite the whole time, you'd only need 350 nights. So time is very, very, very important to have. And of course, we want to enjoy our time. If cruising's not enjoyable, you're not enjoying the time, then any kind of status isn't going to be worth it. But you want to create and make sure you have the available time up front. So moving on to money, obviously the biggest thing people ask is, oh my gosh, are you rich? You must be so rich to be able to do that, or whatever else. And of course, I'm not going to disclose my financial position or anything else like that, but the name of the game for me was to take these cruises as cheaply and efficiently as possible, right? Who wants to overpay for something in any aspect of life? And cruising can be the very most luxury end of the spectrum. You get the most luxurious cruise lines in the fanciest room for the nicest itineraries, right? It can also be an incredibly affordable vacation. It can be one of the most affordable forms of travel and vacation and a trip. I mean, you take a 3-night cruise on a certain older ship, on a certain different cruise line, or even on Royal, and it's incredibly affordable. You wouldn't be able to bundle a hotel plus food plus whatever for anywhere near the cost that would cost you. So money is important, but there are ways to hack these types of things. So no, I know many Pinnacle cruisers who likewise have done this very affordably per cruise. So and because I have historically played poker on cruise ships and things like that, I've actually made money doing this. And there are other people who work remote that perhaps can live very cheaply on cruise ships, that of course it's the same thing for them, right? They're still saving money at the end of the month even though they're living on cruise ships. There are retirees who live on cruise ships for less than it would cost to live on land or in an assisted living or something similar. So again, it's all this versus what the other overhead you have is. So for money, some hacks that I really did to save money are, of course, in the strategy tab, and we're going to talk about that next. But additional things is, we talked about time. With money, you want to be able to save as much overhead as you can, right? Because with time, if you have the time to cruise, then you have a lot of advantages in being able to spend less money. For instance, if you want to get this done sooner, you want to book back-to-back cruises. Right? You want to build in an ideal strategy fashion. You want to build a very long cruise leg out, as long as you would enjoy, right? Reasons being for that is that you are reducing, if you have a home base somewhere, you have to get to the cruise port. So unless you live a short drive or a short Uber or whatever from the cruise port, you are going to need to account for things like flights to get to a cruise port, hotels to stay the night before or the night after, transportation to and from the cruise port, parking at the cruise port if you decide to drive there, etc., right? And when you do longer legs, I don't drive to these ports even if I could, because then you have to pay for parking the entire time. Whereas if you fly there initially, the cost of the flight is going to be averaged out over how long you're flying, right? So like if you're let's say you can do 4 weeks of cruising in a row, even better, 8 weeks of cruising in a row, right? That's certainly going to be much cheaper from a transportation before and after than it would be if you were taking 8 individual cruises throughout the year and each of them had a flight there and a flight back and a hotel, because then that's 16 flights and maybe 16 nights at hotels. Whereas if you do an 8-week leg, it's 2 flights and 2 hotels if you stayed the night before and the night after, right? Oftentimes you can fly out the same day, you only need 1 if you're being conservative. So yeah, obviously that's intuitive, but those types of things add up. When people say, how can you do it? I keep my travel costs very low because I average them over long stretches of cruising. So the longer, if you do 16 weeks of cruising in a row, it's much cheaper in terms of overhead than if you don't. Especially if you can do something like 16 weeks of cruising in a row, and you aren't renting a place or you aren't living somewhere or you're like in between things, then you don't have overhead back at home and you use the strategy to just be paying taxes and fees, then all of a sudden it's cheaper to live on a cruise ship than it is on land, right? So that's when I want to get into the next stage, which is strategy. Obviously all of this falls apart if you're just paying cruise fare off the rack rate. There are some cruises that are affordable, but in general it's going to be much more expensive than living at home, right? And there's only so many, even those cheap weekend cruises that happen, that's only 3 nights of your entire month, right? So even if they're affordable, if you do 3, 4, 3, 4, 3, 4, 3, 4, and you stay on that same ship over and over again, the taxes and fees and any other cruise costs will add up over time. So the strategy is really important, which is why Cruise Comp Captain and my previous casino Cruise Comp offer strategy videos where I talk about things like which machines to play. I talk about how many points to earn per cruise, when to schedule those cruises so that you optimize for more free cruises because of casino loyalty, because of player club loyalty, because of different offers and promotions that are being run check out the other videos on my channel for all the details on that. That's not what this video is about, but if you operate within a strategy and you have the time and you have some targeted amount of money, you can run these things as projections. Like I said, they're not accidents. I didn't accidentally wake up and say, oh, I'm a Pinnacle. And that's why I started this channel, is because I was already doing it, but I was like, man, I think I can really string some things together, and I can flesh out some of these strategies, and I can show people the journey and show people what can be accomplished. And I've done it. I'm Pinnacle status now on Royal Caribbean, and really enjoy the cruising lifestyle. Of course, there's ups and downs of those types of things, but in terms of achieving Pinnacle, like the subscriber asked, the theory is really simple, right? Have time to take cruises, have money to take cruises and whatever. But when you break it down in terms of strategy, compared to life costs something, no matter where you are, no matter where you live, no matter what you do. You gotta eat, you gotta sleep, you gotta go through these motions, right? It's all a matter of choosing how you want to spend your time and where you want to. And if cruise ships are where you like to be, it's your happy place. Even if you just want to be able to take a couple extra cruises and you don't want to live on cruise ships like me, there's value in learning some of these things. There's value in the strategy. I know people who I've taught some of these things to, and they used to pay for every cruise they went on, and then they started to employ some of the casino strategies, and they haven't paid for one since. And they take 2 or 3 cruises a year, but now they're complimentary, and the momentum's going, and they're taking advantage of it. So time, money, and strategy, and of course, make sure it's something that you want. For me, I knew that I was targeting Pinnacle status, and I had built out an entire plan on my own, and the plan worked, and I've been tweaking it along the way, and that's why I'm sharing it here on this channel going forward as well. So I hope that answers your question. Back to back stuff really helps. That keeps the cost down for money. You're only really paying taxes and fees and any other additional fees that you choose to add on to that, right? Which can be personal choices. And then strategy on exactly how to optimize to get those free cruise offers, where you are then reduced to only paying taxes and fees. If you cruise solo, you will get there twice as fast for you and your partner, because you can status match with them. Or you can become a unit, and they can match to your thing, right? So you can cruise solo for the whole time, and then match your partner to your status and do it that way. So these are some of my inside tips. These are some of the things. They're more specific. Follow along for more specifics on this channel. I will be getting into more of the nitty gritty as we go along. Thank you for the person who requested this, and thank you for all of you who have been along for the journey. If you like this channel and you like this content, please consider subscribing to it, giving this video a like, and commenting below with your thoughts, your opinions, your experience with cruising, your experience with achieving a status, or what you like about it. So thank you so much, and I will see you all in the next one.